Legends, welcome back to another team preview from the Ruck Infringement podcast. As always, I'm your host, The Prophet, and tonight's team preview is none other than the North Queensland Cowboys. And to join me, who else could I get but the sexier half of the casual athlete? It's my good mate, Burgz. Burgz, how are you, buddy?
Mate, I am pumped up to be back on a bit of NRL content. Been a little bit lacking to start the season, and there's not been a lot of off-season noise. But I'm just happy to see after you've turned 30 now, mate. You're a bit more mature, and obviously, and well settled into life, and resting the knees, icing the knees. I think after every day is always good. So as long as you do that, I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, you're exactly right, mate. The knees have been cracking for a couple of days now. So, you just know your ricer and your rest, ice, compress, and elevate. But, mate, let's crack straight in. Of course, talking about your Cowboys tonight, we're going to start with some gains and losses for 2026. Now, there's a few ins and outs. We're talking a bit off air, but we're going to go through some here. Now, let's start off with your 2026 gains. A player that, look, we'll quickly touch on. Matty Lodge comes over from the Manly Seagulls. Of course, not sure if he's allowed into Vegas yet, but we will talk about that later. He comes with, I'd like to say a pedigree, but he comes playing, at 4 or 5 multiple clubs before that. So, look, it adds depth to your forward pack, which is great. But apart from that, not much else. Sonny Luke comes over from the Penrith Panthers. Not a bad signing. Great depth there for your hooking role. Of course, your big one is Reed Marnie, who is coming over from the Dogs. You do lose Reece Robson, so Reed Marnie is a great replacement there. Mate, you happy with the gains?
Yeah, as far as Lodge is concerned, as you said, I don't really see him starting for us. Could add a bit of fire to our forward pack, which I think has been a little bit lacking. And outside of Cohen Hess, we don't really have an enforcer guy or a guy for everyone to hate. Sometimes you need those players on your team. And I think Matt Lodge can become that player for you. You really hate playing against him and maybe hate the person that he might be off the field or whatever it might be. But when he's on your team, it's kind of like Josh Maguire. You want him playing for you. And that's the approach that I'm going to take with Matt Lodge this year. I'm delving into the evil side of myself. And no doubt I've been a criticizer of Matt Lodge for a number of years, but it's come full circle now. I'm happy to back him.
I love it. No, look, we'll see how he goes. As I said, it's probably a depth signing there. Mate, Reed Marnie comes over, having been somewhat marginalised at the Dogs. Now, obviously, came from Parramatta, where I thought, he was a fantastic number 9. Went to the Dogs, looked really promising. But I don't know if it was just the Dogs' style of play, but he just kept rushing out of the line and missing a lot of tackles. I don't think he's going to do that in North Queensland. I think he'll tighten it up a bit. Mate, are you excited to see Reed Marnie running around?
Yeah, honestly, I think the disrespect that's been shown towards Reed Marnie over the last 12 to 14 months has been a bit interesting to see from the Dogs. They took a wild turn, especially signing him after Para made that grand final. And, that first year there was horrible for them because the Dogs were terrible. But, he's a part of the reason that they were becoming so successful, right? They started adding these pieces to their roster. Crichton, Kickow included Burton. And he fit into that mold. And I think, maybe the missed tackles was a little bit too much for him. And unfortunately, with Reece over the last couple of years, that's the part of his game that I've been the most happy with. The fact that he is he's quite excelled his career in the defensive department. So, Reed missing tackles isn't going to be fun. But what I do like from Reed is that he provides that attacking spark. When he sees opportunities, I feel like he takes them. And I also think after being as disrespected as he has been, he is going to want to prove to everyone that he can still play 80 minutes of football every week. Because for the Eels, he was that guy playing 80 minutes of football.
Well, exactly, mate. I think he's still a really good player and he's got a lot to offer. Mate, let's talk a couple of your losses now. Now, one that hurts close to your heart, Tom Duffy, mate. He's gone to the Brisbane Broncos. Take us through this.
Man, they just didn't give him a chance. I was really upset last year. Obviously, we started the season with him and, he didn't have a couple of great games. And then, unfortunately for him, Clifford came in and I think we won. And that always goes against you, doesn't it? Like when they bring in the backup or the guy who's in second spot and they come in and win. And no doubt Clifford probably had one of the better seasons of his career last year. And his kicking game is actually pretty decent when you stack it up against some of the other halfbacks in the competition. But yeah, Duffy, he just wasn't given much of a go. And for a 20-year-old kid, I think, as I said to you just before coming on, it's hard to adjust to full speed, bigger guys. He dominated the lower levels of the game and reserve grade. And I think that it may be one that could come back to bite us, possibly. And I think I said this last year, the reverse Tom Dearden effect could come into play, especially with the guys, Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt retiring there at the Broncos. So some opportunities could be opening up for him soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, I think it's a big loss in the sense of if Clifford or Dearden go down. I know there's talk Persian might be playing in the halves this year, but, 1 or 2 injuries and you've got no halves. So, yeah, look, it's definitely not fantastic for the Cowboys, mate. The other loss, Carl Lawton. Obviously, Carl's been around for a little bit now. He's done a great job there, here and there, but, I'd say still a bit of a fringe player. So he goes, but your big one, mate, Reece Robson. Now, he's been a Cowboy for a while, and he goes to, a club that could win the comp this year, but we won't go into that right now. This is a Cowboys preview. He goes to the Mighty Chooks, but, mate, the loss of Reece Robson, how are Cowboys fans and how are you feeling about that?
Look, he's a Sydney boy, so I didn't actually expect him to spend the rest of his career up in North Queensland. He's originally a Dragons junior, as we know, well documented there.
Yeah.
But I think from Reece, what I was lacking last year was the run game. Like, he really kind of took himself out of the run game. But on the back of that, guys like Dearden really excelled last year. I think we saw Dearden have a career year last year. So whether Reece was taking that back seat role and just happy to be, defensive master in the middle, that's more what I saw him doing. And I think he actually wasn't the most creative hooker in the year last year at all. And guys like Blake Brayley outshone him. And I really thought that he was making the New South Wales team on the back of legacy as opposed to a genuine form. So I'm interested to see how he goes at the Roosters this year. I'm not glad to be rid of him. I liked Reece a lot, but he used to go for those dummy half tries. He doesn't anymore. He doesn't back himself in the attacking department. And I think that's something that, maybe the Roosters don't need. So they've got a lot of attacking weapons. But yeah, for us, I think we needed more out of him and we weren't getting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's been a great player for a long period. I think just the tackles he gets through, he's no frills. He's going to make his tackles. He's going to give good service out of dummy half. So we definitely miss that. Obviously, you get Reed Marnie, which is not a bad replacement. But, mate, let's jump into a 2025 review of the North Queensland Cowboys. Now, you finished 12th, minus 146-point differential and 25 competition points. Mate, take us through the year that was. Where did it go wrong for the Cows?
Well, at the start of last year, Longy and I do our ladder predictions every year, and I actually was lower on the Cowboys than Longy was. I think I had us finishing 13th. So, pretty much on the money there. I think Longy might have had them a couple of spots higher. We just don't have that robust, super powerful middle forward anymore. Like, Tamalolo's not that guy. Cotter, as much as I love his energy, I love what he brings to our team. He's not that guy either. He's not a Tino. He's not a Koloamatangi even. Like, he's not a guy that's going to break a bunch of tackles, get an offload, and create some attacking plays off the back of it. I just think we're really missing some genuinely scary middle forwards. And coming up against the Cowboys, you're not looking at one guy anymore. Like, Tamalolo used to be that guy. You're not looking at one guy running at you going, how am I going to tackle this bloke? So I think that's genuinely our biggest issue. And what really didn't help us last year is our defense. Our defense last year was abysmal. The attack is always going to be there. We're an attacking team, and that's why I genuinely love watching my team play every week. I know we're going to score points, but about stopping the points. And it's just a bit of touch footy at times, and sometimes I don't want touch football. I want a strong defensive effort, and definitely put Toddy Payton on his heels. So hopefully there's a bounce back this year, because last year I think a lot of people had us finishing in the top 8, and I just did not say that at all. So
look, I as much as it was a lackluster year, I was really impressed with the form of Scotty Drinkwater. We saw him come of age last year. I thought he was really, really good. Got the goal kicking duties, didn't let go of it. I thought he was close to playing Origin, I reckon. Dylan Edwards didn't have a great year. I reckon he wasn't too far off Drinky, but it was really good to see him have a great season in himself. But he just looked like he was overexerted. He had to do so much for that team. And between him and Dearden, it was like they were doing so much. Obviously, you lost Lukey early, which was a shame because he's such a good player. I think Jeremiah Nanai picked up an injury towards the back end of the year. So just everything that could have went wrong for the Cows. And look, let's hope that 2026 brings some gold out for them. But we'll get into that very soon, mate. We're going to jump into a bit of SuperCoach NRL Fantasy chat now. Now, your better half on the Casual Athlete, not your partner, just your partner for the podcast, but he is a fantasy man. But I have heard this year that he is making an appearance on SuperCoach, which is an absolute shock to me. So we're going to go through SuperCoach. We're going to go through Cowboys players, talk a bit of price points, whether we think they're good buyers or not. And, yeah, we'll just have a general chat. But, look, shout out to Longy. Can't wait to see his SuperCoach team. All right, mate, let's start off at the top. Scotty Drinkwater, fullback, 793K in SuperCoach. Now, obviously, he's a premium option. He's a great option to go if you're looking to go premium early. Personally, I'm not starting with Drinky only because I don't know the makeup, how it's going to go. Does he keep the goal-kicking duties? And I just think last year, as I said, he was overexerted. You haven't really gained anyone this year that's going to make that overexertion any less. So I feel like he's still going to be the main man to do everything. Will he get tired? So that's sort of my thought process at the moment. So currently I'm not starting with him. Is he in your team at all?
No, I think Drinkwater is one of those guys who I watched too many times last year get you 100 one week and then below 30 the next week.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a week, if he doesn't have a week where he's not getting a bunch of those try assists, line break assists, doing a lot of goal kicking from us, scoring tries, then it's not really worth the money. And that you're right, that is a premium price to be paying for a guy like Scotty Drinkwater. I personally wouldn't have him that high. I love what he does. It's just not consistent enough for me in a SuperCoach world where attacking stats are king.
I got to agree, mate. I got to agree. I think there's so many cheaper options that you can go in fullback this year. You've got the likes of Keanu Kinney, who's quite cheap at the moment, and other options there that you can go who are probably going to get you some cash as well. So for the moment, I'm steering clear of Drinky, and I think you are too. Let's move down the list a little bit to Tommy Dearden. Now, halfback, 637K, not too badly priced. The only issue is at the moment in SuperCoach, we have a ton of cheapies in the halfback role. We've got Ethan Sanders, we've got Daniel Atkinson, who are all cheapies. They're going to make you cash. And then you've got your premium. You've got Cleary and Hines. Obviously, Cleary's got quite a tough schedule. Hines has a really good schedule to start the year. Mate, is there any way we could get Tommy Dearden into our teams?
Absolutely. For me, Tommy is a guy that I'm looking at because almost what you want to do is go with like a premier half that's going to do a lot of the kicking duties. Someone like a Mitch Moses this year, I think could be really good.
Yeah.
Even other cheapies as well. As you were saying, Jonah Pezzett is another guy who you could think about as well. I think with Dearden, what you can afford to do being at that price that he is go with him and a cheapie on your bench, and then you could be allowed to splurge in other areas. I think that's probably what you're going to be using Dearden for. If you're not going to be using him, you're probably going to be going with someone more premium in the halves role. But what I think people need to open their eyes to this year is with Clifford out of the side, does that mean that Dearden takes on more of a kicking role? And that's for more of a fantasy side of things. But is Drinkwater then going to be the bigger kicker? I think that would be the toss-up that you'd have to do because I don't see it coming from Jackson Purdue, even though he played a lot of halves. Doesn't do a lot of kicking. I think he was averaging towards the end of the year last year 30 kick meters a game. So those end of sets are going to be extremely important. I think it's now on Tom Dearden to take that under his wing. He's had a lot of years backing up some guys that do a lot of kicking. And I think that's a way for him to evolve as a player this year.
And I love that. Look, he's definitely a shout. Let's move down the list to a guy who I'm very, very interested in, and it's that man we just spoke about, Jackson Purdue. Now, 5'8" center wing dual, 557K. from all reports that I'm hearing, and you may know a bit more than me, but from all reports that I'm hearing, he is going to be the starting 5'8" for the Cows in 2026. How long that lasts, we saw what happened with Tom Duffy last year. Mate, any interest there in Burgz, especially with the duel?
Let's say it's really the duel that you're looking at for Purdue. The cover is just undeniable, and we know when he moved to that center role last year how good he was and how good he can be when he runs the ball. I would love to see some ball playing elements, and it could be a bit controversial, but I actually think his best could be fullback. And unfortunately, with Drinkwater there, it's just not going to happen, and especially at this stage. But I would hate to see. We also have an easy start to the season, but if we lose some games early and we go down the road of doing exactly what we did last year when burning another youngster, he could get annoyed, Jackson, and go somewhere else. But he is a prodigious talent that we can't afford to lose, like the Hammer, like so many of these other guys that have left my team and gone on to do much better things. For Jackson, yeah, I think the duel is definitely something you need to look at, and especially at the price. I think you could definitely, but it's so risky as well. I will caveat that.
It is, and even in the centre wing spot, because you're paying premium for him at $5.57 when you've got, again, an abundance of cheapies this year that you can throw in your centre wing and make some cash early on. So I think he's definitely a play, maybe over the Origin period when Dearden's out. Might be a great play during that period. That's assuming Dearden plays for Queensland. Mate, we're going to move down the list to someone who we spoke about before, Reed Marnie. Now, $418K. I know he's in a lot of teams at the moment. A lot of people been tinkering in and out of sides. I currently don't have him. I am very tempted, but the only reason I don't is because I've actually gone premium in my hooker spot this year. I've gone with Harry Grant based on – I just think he's in for a really big one. So I personally haven't started with Reed Marnie, but, mate, at $418K, juicy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's the kind of guy that if he returns to that attacking output where we saw him, I think it was a few years ago with the Eels, get a number of try assists, especially in a team that is lacking a real dominant 7. You could see some even kick meters and 40-20s could come back into play for Reed Marnie because he, a few years ago, was actually quite good at doing that. I would love to see that return to his game. And the run game from Reed. Like, that's something that you're going to need. You're going to have to wear a few missed tackles, though. And I think that's possibly the risk with taking Reed. He's probably going to take maybe 4 to 6 points from you every week. And then also we've seen him be very ill-disciplined in the past as well. So there could be penalties with that as well. And that doesn't excite me from a SuperCoach standpoint. But again, I'll kind of say the same thing that I said with Dearden. He's a great pick if you're looking to go big in other areas. And if you just set Reed as your hooker, it can afford you to play guys in the center wing position or even fullback that are going to get you more points and more attacking output and still have that solidarity from Reed.
Yeah, mate, I got to agree. I know he's definitely popular. A lot of people I've spoken to have him in their side at that price. I don't blame people for doing that. It's a great price point. The one thing I would say is just wait. Sonny Luke has been brought to the club, which does worry me a little bit. I do think Reed may play 80, but just know that Sonny is there. And if he is there, it could be a 60-20. It could be a 55-25. We don't know. We don't know the makeup of the team yet. But yeah, look, personally, Reed's a great option.
Absolutely. One thing I will say as well, I mean, Sonny, he's been a bit of a journeyman for his career as well. And you'd probably maybe even think that the Cowboys may not be inclined or as inclined to go with him. I mean, Reed's getting up there as well. Yeah. He's 28, Reed. So I am really got my eye on a guy like Xavier Kerisk, who has played a lot of junior footy for the Cowboys and is in that hooker position. And you'd probably say is either second or third cab off the rank after Reed. So that's a guy that I would be looking at. Would be bottom dollar price, but I love what he brings to the table as well. So
Mate, I love that. Let's quickly have a look at him. We'll see what he's priced at. Was it? Oh, yep. Xavier got him here. He is 201K. Yeah, he is bottom dollar. So, look, an injury to Marnie, and even if, as you said, if he's second cab off the rank and they rate this kid well, he could be a definite goer if he gets a starting spot. He'll make you tons of cash. But, mate, a player we're both very interested in, we spoke a bit about him off air, injury dependent, Hyland Lukey. Now, this kid is an absolute star. We know what he can produce. Second row, 404K. So he is a fantastic option if you are looking in the second row. Mate, I think I need to see him play a couple of games first and be playing 80 minutes. What do you reckon?
I'm totally with you. It's been sad the last couple of years for Lukey. I feel for him. There was a period there where I was thinking he was going to surpass Nanai in terms of his production and what he was giving us on the field, just in terms of his defense and attacking output. I wasn't liking what I was seeing from Nanai at the time. And thank God Nanai actually got dropped last year and then actually came back and really worked on his defense. And now he's, going a bit stronger than he was at the time. But for Lukey, I just want to see a healthy season from him, even just to get through 25 games and target, a bigger comeback in 2027. I just the ACLs, man, they're just, unfortunately for Lukey, the way he runs, it's a very awkward running style, which unfortunately doesn't lend itself mechanically to holding up knees wise. So if he's worked on his biomechanics, and then can also get through a decent amount of minutes, but he's got a great motor on him. And again, I just wish him all the best because I just want to see him out there.
Yeah, I love it, mate. Look, I hope he's there running around as well. It'd be really good to see. Move down the list to a player who has joined your club actually from the Chooks, Ethan King. Now, center wing, fullback, 246K. Look, definitely an option. It's probably injury dependent for King, so at the moment probably an avoid. But another one I want to talk about who's in exactly the same position and probably in a lot of teams currently, Tommy Chester. Center wing fullback, 216K, so 30K cheaper than King. Mate, picked up an injury. What do you need to see from Chester to get him in? Or do you think he's cheap enough to just get him in even if he sits on your bench for a couple of weeks?
God, it's the same with Lukey, isn't it? Like you just want to see this kid get out on the field, because I think when he came in and played fullback, not last year, the year before, he just impressed everyone with his speed, his ability to find the gaps and play that more robust style that I haven't really seen from Drinkwater. I think Chester's got a bit more in the tank in terms of run meters and really getting your sets off to a good start. Not looking to play him in that position again this year. Again, they've probably bulked him up a bit and looking at him for center wing, and there isn't a spot there. I like Laybutt, but am I sold? Not 100%, no. And with Jackson Purdue moving the halves, it just really opens up those edge spots. So you're right with guys like Ethan King, and it's really tough for me with Chester because I don't see him as a center, but I haven't seen enough of it to be able to make a definitive call.
Yeah, I think he was a half coming through, I believe. I know he can play a bit of 5'8", bit of half as well, and fullback. So, look, he's got the versatility. I think you probably don't need a center at this stage. And as you said, I mean, look, Laybutt is tried and tested. Yes, he's probably not the best option for you, but yeah, look, it's going to be interesting to see what Peyton does in this side. I hope Chester gets a run, as you said. He's been very injury prone. Everyone's been waiting to see what he can do and whether he can absolutely light up the NRL. So if he does get a start, it's going to be fantastic to see. Mate, that's probably the only options I've got for the Cows for this year. Obviously, we've got some really cheap options, none that will probably play injury dependent. So we'll probably avoid them for now. But don't forget to check out our Ruck Infringement Podcast Cup is running on SuperCoach. Of course, you can use the code 693809 and join there. We do have NRL Fantasy up as well, so I will drop both links in the description. Might even drop a Casual Athlete Fantasy link for you guys as well. And check out our good friends at SC Rings for all the championship rings going around. All right, we're going to talk some players to watch now. This is always fun. It can be a rookie. It can be a player who's played for a couple of years who we think is going to have a big season. Let's throw it over to you, mate. Who are some players to watch for this year?
I've got a couple of guys, a couple of the rookies, and again, it's very injury dependent. Plus, also, it could be form dependent. If we get down early and we've only won 2 games by round 10, I can easily see some of these guys playing. A guy like Zach Hertigan is a 5'8" for us, kind of a bigger 5'8", especially with our, I guess, tentativeness in the halves to, want to play Clifford so much. And no doubt we can watch out for Clifford too, because I'm sure he'll be playing at some point this year. But yeah, a guy like Zach, I think, could really get an opportunity there. And then I think we're a second row of factory. So guys like James Walsh and Mason Kira, I'm really interested to see if they can get a go. There's so many guys in front of them, though, like Kai O'Donnell, Nanai, Lukey, Bateman. Forgot Bateman's still there.
Yeah.
But
Johnny.
I wasn't unhappy with Bateman last year. I actually thought he was pretty solid. Still not probably giving you the output from his Raiders days, but we forget that was 10 years ago now. And yeah, I love watching rookies and seeing them get an opportunity, and that's why I was so high on Duffy last year. So for me, I'd go those 3 with Zach Hertigan, Mason Kira, and James Walsh. I just think that they get an opportunity. They're probably not going to let anyone down, but it may be a wait and see thing on them. And obviously, the big one for me is Drinky. Can he go to another level? Like, can he really push for that number 1 jersey in Origin? I think it probably is Tedesco's at the moment, and especially if the Chooks are going well, you'd probably think that they will pick Tedesco, but he's been nipping at the heels for a while now, and I'd love to see him add a different element to his game, whether that be, in the run meters game, but he's a bit small. I just want to be able to see Drinky perform well and also go to a different level this year, especially if he's going to not have that Clifford kind of doorstopper to fall back on. Clifford's kind of dragged him through a couple of games last year by taking most of the kicking roles. So, yeah, I'm interested to see if Drinkwater can take it up a notch.
Mate, I love that shout. Look, player to watch for me, and this is hard to say because I was a forward playing, and I hate talking about wingers, but Murray Tulagi. We've seen what this guy can produce year in, year out. I thought last year, obviously, a bit of injury and a bit of a quiet season to his standards. I'm ready for Muzza to come back and to come back strong. I can just see him out there. I reckon, this is my bold prediction, I think he'll play Origin again in 2026. I think he'll get a wing spot for the Queensland Maroons. I've just got the feeling that he's about to light back up. And if Drinky's on, as we think he's going to be, Drinky out the back of that shape, out to Murray will be absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to Luggy for a big year this year. Rookie-wise, I don't really have many for the Cows, so I will stay away from that. But, yeah, I'll jump. I'll have Muzza in there for a big year. All right, mate, the fun part. Let's talk ladder finish for your Cows. We'll start off with you. Where are they going to end in 2026?
God, I love this question at the moment because there are so many people giving us the spoon. And you know what that means? We're not going to get the spoon. Whenever everyone thinks that one team are going to get the spoon, that team never gets the spoon. I don't see us getting the spoon. I actually think that this year I'm a little bit more positive on us than I was last year, because last year I was expecting us to finish 12th. Whereas this year, everyone's giving us the spoon. So there's no pressure, really. If we do better than 17th, then I consider that a very profitable year. Unfortunately, I think in the coaching department, it will mean that Todd Payten will have to go. Do I think his hard-nosed style is conducive for a long period of time? Probably not. It's kind of like Madge Maguire, although Madge has the results to back it up and the pedigree and the proven formula of winning competitions. So I think for us, is Todd Payten going to be our long-term coach? Probably not. And unfortunately, a guy like who I really wanted to have as our coach has already been signed, Josh Hannay. So I think we'll be probably looking for a new coach by the end of the year. But I think we'll probably finish in around that 13th to 12th range again. narrowly avoiding the spoon with a bunch of really good attacking performances against bad teams. That's how we've played the last couple of years. And I don't really see it changing with the young forward pack that we have that just isn't really that intimidating. I struggle to see us getting over the advantage line against these bigger forward packs of the Broncos, of the Roosters, I would say, and even guys like the Raiders. I think the Raiders would kill us, even though we have a great record against the Raiders. I just don't see us matching up really well with bigger forward packs.
Mate, I love it. I've got you guys 14th, and the main reason is what I was talking about before. It's the unknown for me with the Cows this year. Obviously, Burgz has not played a lot of time at 5'8" in the NRL, so that will take time to gel. Obviously, there's new combinations there. How does Matt Lodge fit into this side up front? How does Reid Marnie go at hooker? So I think it's always, when there's question marks of a team, it's really hard to have them high. Obviously, you had them 13th. I'm going to say 14th. Based on that, I would love to see you guys get up a bit higher. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the Cows. They're probably the only Queensland team I do like. So yeah, I'll back you in at 14th there to finish on the NRL's ladder in 2026. And before we finish off, mate, some last words. I want you to fire up the Cowboys fans for 2026, mate.
Well, guys, so we actually have a lot to look forward to this year. Despite what the outlook might concern, block out all the noise. I think we've got some young guys in there, and that's something I've been excited to see for the Cowboys for a long period of time. Guys like Jordan McLean have retired. Taumalolo's getting towards the end of his career, and I think that some of these young guys have really got to push through and show that the catchment area that we have up in North Queensland really produces some great footy players for this country, and that we need to keep them long term, and we need to think about that rather than watching them go to other clubs and being successful. So I think for the Cowboys this year, don't lose all hope. I'm actually going to be very positive on the Cowboys this year, despite my ladder finish, prediction, because everyone's doubting us, and that's the only fuel I need.
Love that. I love that, mate. That's hair-raising stuff. The hairs on my arm are just sticking up right now. I don't even know how I can follow that. But look, some last words for me, Cowboys fans: get to your home ground. Get down there, support your team. It's a great stadium there at Country Bank Arena. So get down there, support the Cows, get as many people as you can. Whether your team's coming last or first, support them either way. Remain positive. You never know what can happen in 2026, and go the Cows. But that is all we have time for our team preview tonight. Don't forget to check out our great friends at Wick Coffee. Wick Coffee do the best coffee going around. You can check them out on social media at Wick Espresso Coffee, and you can head to their website, check out all their range of some fantastic beans. They've got whole beans, grounded beans. They even do coffee repairs as well, coffee machine repairs. So check them out, Wick Coffee, fantastic sponsor of our show. But until next time, I'm Joey. That's Burgz. Be good.